Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. Today we're going to be wrapping up December. So December was kind of a mishmash of just whatever I felt like reading. I didn't really want to stress about it. I was already stressed out with the holidays per a previous video. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll link it down below. Anyway, so yeah, so that just kind of, the month just kind of led me wherever I wanted to go as far as with whatever books I felt like reading. So the first book I did read for the month of December was A Killer Edition by Lorna Barrett. This is part of a series, the Booktown Mystery series. This is number 13 in the series, and I've just enjoyed it over the years. It's a cozy mystery. It's just, sometimes you just feel like, you know, you still want that mystery, but you don't want all the suspense and the, I don't know what it is about a cozy mystery, but every now and then you just need a good cozy mystery. I've been reading this series for a while now and I've really been enjoying it. Our main character, Trisha, she is once again in the middle of a murder case. But thankfully in this one, she's not really considered a suspect, but she was there. She sort of walks in on a little dispute between one of her neighboring bookstores and someone else, which happens to be that person's actual neighbor, as far as like where they, you know, home neighbor, bickering about a tree that was in the yard or whatnot. Long story short, the neighbor ends up murdered, and her body is found in the yard of Trisha's friend or neighboring bookstore friend. And Trisha ends up going over to that said friend's house that evening to learn how, she wants to learn how to garden, all this other stuff. So she goes over to her friend's house, who is a gardener, you know, for fruits and vegetables and things like that. And they find the body of the neighbor. So of course Trisha, you know, jumps right in and trying to figure out what happened to this person that she didn't really know very well. Is her friend, did her friend do it? Was she part of it? Why was the body found in her yard? So it's just a fun little mystery trying to figure that out. There's also some backstories, which I always love in Lorna Barrett's cozy mysteries. There's always a backstory. There's always more going on. There's not just that one mystery to solve. That's what I like about cozy mysteries. There, like, I like other things to be happening. I find that it gets kind of boring when it's just that one mystery that the whole book is about. But there's also a bake-off that Trisha wants to enter to get in with her sister, so there's the backstory of that. It was just really cute and cozy. I enjoyed it. Then next I read Helm by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. This is actually a reread for me, or a re-listen. Oh, I did listen to A Killer Edition, and I really enjoyed the narration this time. It was narrated by a different narrator than it usually is. And I really did enjoy it, although I couldn't distinguish the voices like I could with the other narrator. It's funny because I didn't like the previous narrator's voice, but you knew who was talking in the books. With this narrator, I liked her voice, but I never knew who was talking. So I don't know. But anyway, Helm by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. This is a reread. I actually read it the first time and I listened to it this time. It was narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Jacob Morgan. Sorry, I have it written down over here. 5 stars, of course. Still one of my favorite male romances. I actually wanted to pick this up because I also read Christmas in the City. I'll put a picture of it here. I didn't read the whole book though, so my rating on this is only for Wes and Jamie's story. They had a little short story in this book. The name of the short story was Epic. I gave it 5 stars. I love Wes and Jamie. Again, one of my favorite fictional male characters. Love their little love story. This is the first book, or the first book in their story. The second book is Us. But I always love a first when when the friends there, it's a friends to lovers. They've been best friends since like 13 or something like that, when they were at like a hockey camp or something. They would always become best friends, and you know, they're coming into their own, trying to figure out who they are. Of course, Wes he pretty much knew that he was gay before Jamie knew anything. So Wes kind of experiments with that in this book, and you get sort of both Wes and Jamie's story. Of course, it starts when, you know, when they're grown later. Wes is now an NHL star, and Jamie is also on an NHL team. In this book, they're on their college teams, and they come together again after, like, I think it's like 4-year span where their teams are competing with each other. And so they just formed their friendship back. But Wes is still in love with Jamie from years ago, but something happened to kind of separate them, give them that separation for 4 years, and Jamie still to this day doesn't understand what happened. But Wes feels guilty about what happened, because he was kind of experimenting with himself, trying to figure out who he was, and he sort of used Jamie in a way, but Jamie didn't understand what happened. So apparently Jamie was okay with it. He didn't get it, but yeah. So it just goes on their story of how they come back together, and how Wes finally gets the courage to tell Jamie his feelings for him, and Jamie realizes that he loves Wes as well, and is, you know, what is going on with him is, you know, it's beautiful. I absolutely loved it. Even the second time around, it was even better. And the story in Christmas in the City, I'll put it back up here, was called Epic. I think I said that. But this was just a little short story. It was mainly about Jamie and where his career was taking him, and decisions he had to make, and how it affected him and Wes's relationship. But it was a really short story. It was super cute. I gave it 5 stars. Again, I only based this book on that one little short story, which I gave 5 stars. Oh, and also, I also listened to Us. I'll put a picture of that here, because I just couldn't get enough of Wes and Jamie, and I wanted to have their whole story before I got into their little, even though it was a little short story and epic, I wanted them back in my mind. I wanted their story back in there so I could get the whole feel of their story in the little short story. So I listened to Us again, and I did listen to this before, so I re-listened to it, and again, it was narrated by Teddy Hamilton and Jacob Morgan. I love the narration of both these gentlemen. They did a phenomenal job. I love when the characters have 2 different narrators, so you can get 2 different voices, and it just sort of brings the characters to life again. So in Us, it's just Jamie and Wes's continued love story, and the different things they have to go through in order to be together, and Jamie trying to figure out where he needs to be, and Wes getting into being an NHL star player. Just a great story. Loved it. 5 stars. Lots of 5 stars this month. I think I don't know if it's because I was reading what I just wanted to read. I don't know, but lots of 5 stars this month. Going into that, this is Recursion by Blake Crouch. I love this. A lot of people said they didn't like this one as much as they liked Dark Matter. I love Dark Matter, and I love this one just on different levels. I can see where they're kind of the same. It sort of deals with I guess sort of the same, sort of going back in time kind of thing. But it's just different circumstances. It just, to me, it wasn't the same, but yet I get where people are saying how it was the same as Dark Matter. I get it, but to me, I can see the different circumstances in it, and I thought this one was a lot more You really have to put your thinking cap on with this one, or just really pay attention to it. I listened to the book, which I absolutely loved because I listened to Dark Matter, and it was a phenomenal narration. This one was read by John Lindstrom and Abby Croden, because there's two characters. You're following a male character and a female character. Our female character is our scientist who invented this chair. To basically, she invented it for people with Alzheimer's diseases to hopefully maybe somehow get memory back and get some of their memory back, because her mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it's a disease that is just taking her mother away bit by bit, and she's not, you know, losing her memories of anything, doesn't know who she is or who they are, and it's just really sad. So our female character's name, sorry, I read this at the beginning of the month, so I don't really remember all their names, but Helena is her name, and we follow her journey with her invention of this chair, and how it gets into the wrong hands. And so this is a chair that messes with your memories. So anyone who sits in just this chair can, say for instance, can go back to a time where they may have made a mistake and wants to change that. But you also like have to be very careful not to change so drastically that you change not only your future for the good, but you don't change anything else that happened. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but like I said, it gets into the wrong hands and it just explodes. Like time is lapsing everywhere, and things that took place did not take place, and it's messing with history, it's messing with future. It's crazy. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So our male character is, I'm just bad at remembering names, Barry is our male character. So he is one of our the ones that got to sit in the chair and go back in time to correct something that he felt was his fault. And once again, the story comes to life with the narration, and I felt like I got it. I don't know how to explain it. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend the audio. 5 stars. Next up, I read Hell and High Water by Charlie Cochet. This is actually the graphic novel of Hell and High Water. So Hell and High Water is our first book in the 3rd series. This is like the very first series I came across as a male paranormal romance, and I think this is what got me in loving male romances and wanting more. And then of course this followed with Him and Us and led to many other male romances that I have read over the years. I'm thinking about doing a video on like my top male romances that I've read over the years or listened to. I might do that. We'll see. But this was my first, and still my absolute favorite. So when she was coming out with the graphic novel, I jumped on it. Love the graphic novel. Of course you don't get the whole story, but you get the gist of Hell and High Water. It's Dex and Sloane's story. This is Dex, that's Sloane. Dex is a shifter. He's a Therian, so he shifts into a black jaguar. And the Thirds is like a police force for Therians. So you have your human police force, and then you have your Therian police force. And that's what Sloane is part of. Dex was part of the human police force. But something happened with that, and he was transferred to the Thirds, where his father and his brother also work. So they're all now a family at the Thirds, and he becomes Sloane's new partner. Sloane's previous partner passed away or was killed on the job, but there's a little bit more to that story. But yeah, like I said, so you get the story, you get Dex and Sloane's story, and you get the story of what's happening, how the thirds came about. It's your first book for the series, and there's like, I don't know how many other books, 7, 8. I actually listened to the whole series. After I read this, I had to have more. I had to have the real series. Not that this wasn't the real series, but you know, like I said, it was graphic novel, so it was sort of toned down. So I ended up listening to pretty much the entire month of December. I listened to the third series. So we have Hell and High Water is our first book. So I went ahead and I re-listened to that. I can't tell you how many times I've re-listened to this book. I highly recommend the audio. Our second book is Blood and Thunder. This is also Dex and Sloane's story. Like, they are the main characters, but the rest of the team is in the background. And then the third book is Rack and Ruin. This is also a Dex and Sloane story. The fourth book is Rise and Fall, also a Dex and Sloane story. So they are our main characters. So the first 4 books follow Dex and Sloane and their relationship, and how their relationship grows, and how they become involved with one another, and how they grow within the team of the thirds, and how as Dex and Sloane are growing, other members of the team are growing as well. And you get a little bit of their relationship as well in these books, like the members of the team and their relationships in these first 4 books. But then after this 4th book is when we start getting more of the team. So our 5th book is Against the Grain, and this book focuses on Ash and Kale's story. Kale is Dex's little brother, who is a Therian shifter. He shifts into a cheetah. And Ash is best friends with Sloane. They grew up in like this institute, because when the thirds started, like when the shifting started happening, it was kind of like a disease that happened in the Vietnam War. And whoever was involved in that war, their spawns, I guess, their children, became infected and became Therians. So when all this first started happening, you know, nobody knew what was going on, and all these young kids were shifting, and the parents didn't know what was happening, and so they were hauling their kids off to like these crazy institutes. So Sloane and Ash sort of grew up in this institute, and they both have their own little stories of what happened to their families and how they got there. And there's so much going on in this series. It's so like heartwarming, and you fall in love with these characters. I mean, Charlie Cochet did like a wonderful job on this series. I don't know if she's ever going to be able to top it. I mean, I'm reading some of her other series, but nothing is topping the thirds. But I still love it. So Against the Grain is Kale and Ash's story. Ash is also a Therian, so both Kale and Ash are Therians. Ash is a lion Therian. The 6th book is actually my least favorite in the third series, and I hate saying that because I love Calvin and Hobbes. Yes, that's a cartoon comic, but that's their names. Calvin is a human, and Hobbes has been his best friend since they were kids. And Calvin is in love with Hobbes, and Hobbes doesn't want to mess up their friendship. So it's just been an emotional ride for them throughout the years, because they love each other, but one wants to make it more, and one is afraid to make it more. So we get that story in book 6, Catch a Tiger by Its Tail. Hobbes is a Therian shifter. He shifts into a tiger. Hobbes is a very unique character. I love these characters. It's just not my favorite book in the series, so I did skip over it. I didn't listen to this one this month, but I just want to mention it because it is in the series, and I feel like you need to listen or read all these books in this series to get the whole vibe of the third story. you just need it all. But yeah, as much as I love Calvin and Hobbes, I wasn't crazy about the book. But Hobbes is mute. He can speak, but he chooses not to due to anxiety and depression. So that's part of the story, and you find out how he became like that and why, and just their friendship from when they were kids to now, and how they've evolved with the thirds. And I love them as characters. It's just not my favorite book. I don't know. And then our 7th book, we're back to Dex and Sloane being the main event of the book. This is Smoke and Mirrors. So I mean, I don't want to like talk about these books too much, because you really need to start with Hell and High Water. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But yeah, we're back to Dex and Sloane and Smoke and Mirrors. And then book 8 is Thick and Thin. We're back with Dex and Sloane. Book 9 is all we're back into another set of characters. So book 9 is A Darkest Hour Before Dawn. This is the story between Hudson and Seb. They were actually dating prior to Dex coming into the third. So prior to Hell and High Water, they were dating and became mates. And an incident happened, and they sort of, I guess, broke off their relationship. But being mated with each other forms like this bond that can't be broken, and they just truly love each other, but for some reason cannot forget what happened that hurt their relationship. And so it's their story. Hudson is a shifter. He is a wolf shifter. He's a Therian doctor at the thirds. So he does like, he's part of the, I guess would be the, I don't know what you call that, the ones that actually like do the autopsy of the body, and I don't know what you call them. There's a name for them, and I cannot think of it. It's like right there, but I can't, it won't come out. But anyway, he's a doctor, and Seb is actually, Hobbes or Ethan, I should say Hobbes, Calvin and Hobbes. Hobbes' first name is Ethan, but they call him Hobbes because Calvin and Hobbes. And then, so Ethan's brother Seb and Hudson, or we get their story. And Seb also works for the third, so Seb is also a Lion Therian. So yeah, so Darkest Hour Before Dawn, I really did like that book. And then we sort of get like a little bit a novella. It's called Gummy Bears and Grenades. So this is, I don't want to say what this is because I'm gonna give everything away, but it's just a little short story. Dex and Sloane are our main characters in this story. And then book 10 is the last book in the third series, so there's 10 books. Tried and True. This is Dex and Sloane's last hurrah in our last book. Don't want to say too much about it, but she has started on she meaning Charlie Cochet, she has started on a continuation of the thirds, but it's with 10. 10 is sort of like the FBI of the thirds, and so she's working on that series. And the first book in that series has also already came out, I think like sometime last year. It's called Love and Pain, and it's the story of Austin, who plays a role in the thirds. You'll get him throughout the books. Love and Pain is his story. So I was excited about Love and Pain because you only get little tidbits here and there of Austin, and he is a fun character. So I was excited for his book, but it wasn't all what I was hoping it to be. But I did not listen to that this month, but I just wanted to mention it. All right, moving on. I did also listen to No Exit by Taylor Adams. I really did like this book. I gave it 4 stars. I gave all the thirds 5 stars. I mean, come on. But I did give this one 4 stars only because I felt like it was just a little slow for me. But I enjoyed it. Once it started picking up towards like the end, I was really invested in it. I was really invested in all the characters, but I was a little disappointed in the ending. But I get it, I get it. We start off with Darby. She is on her way to get to her mother. Her mother is dying of cancer, I believe, and she's in college and she's trying to get to her mother. But there is a really bad snowstorm that is happening. Her windshield wipers break. It's like one thing after another. She eventually has to get off the road, and she comes to like this, like, I think it's like a truck stop or like maybe a rest area. There's some other cars there, so she decides to stop there and just wait out the storm with whoever, the other people that are there. So, but then while she's there, when she goes to try to find like some cell service, she walks past like this van, a van that is already there in the parking lot. She passed by and she swears she sees like a little hand in the window. So long story short, she sees like a little girl in a cage in the back of this van. So she goes back into the rest stop and then tries to figure out whose car belongs to who and who can she trust. Can she trust any of these people? It was really good going through those motions. And as the book progressed, you got the characters sort of came out in all the people that were there in the rest stop. I was kind of shocked when I realized who was who, and just the story of how she tries to save the child. It got really, really good towards the end. And like I said, although I didn't like the way it ended, I get it. But yeah, 4 stars. I really did like it. Next up, I read, and I actually read this Arctic Heat by Annabeth Albert. This is actually the 3rd book in this little Arctic, it says Frozen Hearts novel. But you do not have to read the first 2. You can jump right into this one if you want to. But I definitely want to pick up the other 2 and just see what they're about, because I really love this little story. I read somewhere that other characters from the first 2 books played cameos in here, so I kind of want to go back and see like who was I supposed to know in this book. But other than that, you do not have to read the first two books in this little series. So Male Romance, I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. There was just something that was just missing for me. Not sure what it was, but other than that, I really enjoyed it and I couldn't wait to pick it back up. But we have Owen Hahn is not retired, but he is a former banker investor or something like that. He just knows how to finance his money very, very well. He's like in his later 30s, and he had gotten cancer at a young age, and at that time he realized that life is too short and he needed to live it to the fullest. So he makes himself a bucket list, and one of the things on that list was to volunteer as a park ranger up in Alaska. And he has sort of like a park ranger fantasy, happening, kind of hooking up with a cute, hot park ranger. But anyway, so that his little fantasy sort of comes true in this little love story. Our park ranger that he pursues is Quill. He is sort of, to me, his character was very drawn in. He didn't have, I don't want to say he didn't have a good life growing up, but he didn't have the best life growing up. Like, he knew he was gay, but his father sort of put him down about it, and he had like this boyfriend that was sort of not abusive, but more of like sort of verbally abusive, I guess, but not bad. It just made Quill kind of like not want to have a relationship, and he felt like sex was nothing to be excited about. It was messy. He just rather just be by himself. And then here comes Owen, who tries to pursue him. They end up bunking together, I guess, during this volunteer time at this Alaska park or whatever, and Owen sort of shows him how sex can be fun and relationships can be fun and they can be good, and just, you know, he sort of teaches him a new way to look at things. And I just thought it was really heartwarming, I guess. I really, really loved their story. I sort of kept getting frustrated with Quill because I was just like, just tell him how much you care for him. And, you know, he just couldn't do it. You know, he didn't want Owen to make a mistake with him. Like, Owen wanted them to have a relationship, and he didn't want to be a mistake for Owen. He wanted Owen to go off and live his life, do his bucket list, and be with someone that's not as messed up as him in the head. But Owen was not having that. So it was just a really cute, heartwarming story of Owen and Quill. And yeah, I loved it. And last but not least, of course, another male-male romance I listened to this month was The Blueprint by S.E. Harmon. I really love this story. It's another friend to lover story. That's probably, I guess, like my favorite trope, best friends to lovers. I gave it 5 stars. It's also a sports male-male romance that seems to be sort of at the top of my list of male-male romances that I like. I have Kelly, who is gay, and he's out, except for he's sort of out, but his family like know that he's gay, and they sort of like play with him. Like, when he goes to tell them, they're like, "Oh my God, get out of the house!" You know, it was actually a really funny scene. I really, I laughed through this. I thought it was funny. I thought it was quirky. I really enjoyed it. Kelly was a fun character. He's satisfied with his life. He loves his family. He has a great job, but he's in love with his best friend, who is straight. His best friend is Britton Blue Montgomery. They call him Blue. He is a NFL football player, and he is supposedly straight. But, you know, he has these deep feelings for Kelly. They've been friends like forever. And when Kelly sort of realizes that he can't just be friends with Blue, he sort of steps away. And, you know, they're still friends, but he just has to, like, step away a little bit. And of course, Blue wants to know what's going on. He doesn't know what happened. Did he do something? So he, you know, pursues Kelly. You know, he goes to try, because Kelly goes back home to his family for, I think it's like for a holiday or something. And Blue sort of follows him there. And they start to dig a little bit deeper into their friendship there. Kelly sort of lets him know what's going on, that he's, you know, loved him all these years, and not just as like his best bud, but a little bit more than that. And Blue doesn't really know at first how to feel. He knows he loves Kelly and he doesn't want to lose him as a friend, but he doesn't know if that's what he wants. You know, so they test the waters, they experiment. You know, it's just a fun ride, a fun little trope. I enjoyed it. I love best friends to lovers. Love it. So yeah, so that's it, y'all. That was all I read in the month of December. Not too bad, but as you can see, I kind of gravitated mostly towards male-male romances, because that's just where it's at for me. When I'm in a slump or I'm just not feeling it, I go to my go-tos, which is pretty much male-male romances. I don't know, it just gives me this giddy feeling, and I love reading about them, you know, someone coming into their own and experimenting with how they feel and about their sexuality. And I don't know what it is. It just gives me all the feels, and I love reading about it, and it gets me out of any sort of slump that I'm in. But yeah, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed this December wrap up, and I hope y'all had a wonderful December. Not sure if I'm gonna do a TBR for January. I've already read one book, and I'm almost done with a second book and just beginning a third book. But it sort of reflects back to my original December TBR. I'm sort of going back to that pile because those were some books that I really did want to get to. So I don't know, I may sort of recap that and just kind of let y'all know what I'm up to for January. I don't know. Or I just might not do it. I'll see. We'll see. But I have some other plans for January. But anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. As always, all the books that I mentioned today will be a link down below if you'd like to go check them out for yourself. Let me know what you're reading right now down below in the comments. I hope y'all all had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Come follow me on all my social medias, my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, all that'll be linked down below. I'm always on Instagram, always on Goodreads, trying to keep up to date with my reading. I just set my 2020 reading goal on Goodreads, which I did another 75 books. That was my goal for 2019, and I think I read like 93 or 95, something like that. I didn't quite hit 100. I was going to challenge myself and set it for 100 books, but I decided I better not do that. I better keep it at 75 and just, in my head, try to get to 100 books this year, or maybe more. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, and I will see y'all in my next video.